It's been a while since I dived into Crystal Lake. I was covering all of the Friday the 13th films in order and got to part 7, The New Blood, and then got distracted. I'll definitely be diving back into the series in the new year, and who knows, maybe with the settlement in the courts coming to an end, maybe, just maybe, we'll get an actual honest-to-gosh new Friday the 13th film someday soon. In the meantime, some folks have taken the bull by the horns and made their own stories about Jason and the curse of Camp Crystal Lake. I've covered some fan films in the past. A new fan film dropped a short while ago on YouTube, and I also got my mitts on 2 indie comics telling new and off-kilter stories about our favorite hockey mask madman. Since the next Friday the 13th isn't until May, I figured the down week between Christmas and New Year's was as good a time as any to return to Crystal Lake. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. Let's start out with the comics. Friday the 13th, 9, The Last Mask by Tony McMillan is a self-published comic, and I'll provide the link to how to pick it up below in the comments. Basically, this 22-page single issue brings back a few familiar faces and explores an avenue that has never really come up in the Friday the 13th movies before. It also acts as if Jason Goes to Hell never existed and picks up immediately after Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, ends, which is completely fine by me, as I wish Jason Goes to Hell never existed as well. More on that when I eventually cover that film in the near future. This issue reunites Survivor gals Ginny Field from Part 2, Chris Higgins from Part 3, and Tina Shepard from Part 7, along with final boy Tommy Jarvis, to take on Jason once and for all. But Tommy has a new theory about Jason. He's not Jason at all. He's a tulpa, a creature brought to life through belief, horrendous acts, and pure will. This story builds the case that Jason died as a boy, and it's simply the idea of him all grown up and supported by legends passed from one generation to the next that allows him to return. While I don't know if this is an idea I can totally get behind, the story does a great job of presenting this theory and also highlights the absolute carnage Jason can unleash once resurrected. McMillan has a really loose and sketchy style, which lends to some fantastic scenes of pure carnage and nightmare. This is an extremely creative comic that oozes with love of the Friday the 13th series and does its best to interconnect a series that was basically making it all up as it went along. The Last Mask was a quick read, but one that left its mark. The second comic I picked up was called No One Comes to the Lake Anymore. It's by Charles Forsman, another self-published 24-page single-issue book. This issue finds Jason at a much more introspective stage. Jason is down because no one really visits him at the lake anymore. All he gets are bills and ads in the mail. As he mopes around the cabin, he starts an existential argument with himself, which ends up getting pretty physical. Like The Last Mask, No One Comes to the Lake Anymore brings back some unexpected characters from Jason's past and ends on a much more sentimental note. No One Comes to the Lake Anymore is a wonderfully different take on Jason. Sure, it has Jason speaking in full sentences, but it's all inner monologue and thought balloons, so it doesn't go so far as to have Jason speak. In a lot of ways, this feels like Friday the 13th through the eyes and pen of Peanuts' Charles Schulz. Forsman's style is very much like a grungier version of Schulz's pencils. There may not be a whole lot of guts and gore in this one, but this is a Friday the 13th tale that you'll walk away from with a smile on your face. I guarantee it. Finally, Friday the 13th superfan Peter Anthony raised a ton of cash on crowdfunding and gathered some impressive talent in front of and behind the camera to make Rose Blood a Friday the 13th fan film. Rose Blood takes place in 2 timelines. One, the present, where Tina Shepard, played by Lar Park Lincoln, who reprises the role from Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, is institutionalized, still haunted by Jason and still having hallucinations that she's arguing with her doctor, Dr. Cruz, the also returning Terry Kaiser. The other timeline takes place not long after Tina was institutionalized and not long after the events of Part 7, as the government comes in to investigate Tina's psychic powers, and another young girl named Rose, played by Sene Lutzis, is transferred to the facility. Rose herself is exhibiting powers comparable and maybe even surpassing Tina's. When a group of gruff soldiers arrive at the institute, younger Tina, played by Jessica Hotman, is triggered and resurrects old Jason again, played by Jason Brooks. But Rose has her own secrets, resulting in a bloody battle royale between two horror icons. Roseblood is an ambitious full-length feature film. Director-writer Peter Anthony has done his homework and attempts to make this feel as authentic and professional as possible. And it works for the most part. While it's obvious the budget is very low, everyone seems to be giving their all to make the whole thing work, even if they don't do everything right, and this fan film does a lot right. Those behind the film should be proud that they put together a production that looks as cool as this one does. One of the things that is most impressive about Roseblood is the fact that they were able to nab quite a few of the real actors from Part 7. Lar Park Lincoln still makes the rounds of the festival circuit and is great with her fans. It seems she really is giving it her all in returning to the role that made her such a fan favorite. While the bulk of the film takes place in the past, with Tina played by another actress, the present scenes resonate as much as they do because of what she puts into the role. There's an especially poignant beat close to the end that really works because of her acting, along with another actor whose identity I won't spoil here. Terry Kaiser is also quite good and slips back into the smarmy Dr. Cruz loafers quite comfortably. It's great seeing these two older actors butt heads, even if it is all in Tina's sick mind. I also really admire the work and dedication put into the Jason costume. This one looks so much like Jean Carl Buechler's iconic version of the character from Part 7, it's scary. It still has the workable jaw, the showing rib cage and knees and back and spine, and Jason Brooks plays Jason in a very brutal and devastating way. I think if there are slip-ups in regards to acting, it's in the past segments. Jessica Hotman is good as Tina, as is David E. McMahon as her doctor. I even like the nod to Jason Goes to Hell with the appearance of the Duke, played by Jacqueline Broden. But I think the combination of some rough scripting and amateur acting hurts the performances of some of the soldiers, who basically are introduced and then quickly knocked down by Jason. I'd rather they just be nameless characters than have them introduced in such a cheesy 80s way. I honestly think Roseblood would have been much more effective had they just made it an hour's length. The story lags quite a bit for the first hour, with Jason only being referred to in conversation and flashbacks. It really isn't until close to the hour mark that Jason actually shows up and begins his rampage. Can you imagine what kind of reception a Friday the 13th movie would get if Jason wouldn't show up until the final reel? More than once I looked at the time and wondered, where the hell is Jason in this Friday the 13th fan film? That's going to be a deal breaker for a lot of folks watching this one. That said, once Jason's carnage begins, it's quite good. In fact, it's gorier and more in-your-face than most of the kills you'll find in the official series. While I hated the MPAA as much as any other horror fan did in the 80s and 90s, I did appreciate the fact that it forced filmmakers to be creative with their horror. This made the Friday the 13th series less bloody, but it still managed to dazzle with some truly iconic moments of life-taking. So seeing Jason unleash such a gory rampage was interesting for me. It was awesome seeing Jason in such a carnal and bloody way, but it also felt almost out of place compared to the Friday the 13th I'd experienced before. This isn't really a complaint, just an observation of what growing up with Friday the 13th is like compared to what is allowed and able to be done today. Either way, Jason's kills in Roseblood are absolutely in your face and gruesome. There's a guest star that I won't spoil. It's something fans have called for ages, but seeing these two together only highlights how difficult it would be to pull this type of crossover off. I'm glad to have seen it in this fan film, which is exactly the place where these types of ideas work, but I honestly don't know if I'd be interested in seeing an official confrontation a la Freddy vs. Jason. Any more info and I'll be spoiling things, so just watch it yourself at the link below and make your own decision. Roseblood is proof that even though the powers that be who own the Friday the 13th franchise can't seem to get their shit together, there are those who will take matters into their own hands and keep the legend of Crystal Lake alive and slicing. While these three works of fandom are all done on a limited budget, they are overflowing with love and enthusiasm of a franchise that is decades old. People love Friday the 13th. I love Friday the 13th. And if you're like me, you're going to find a lot to love about the work superfans Tony McMillan, Charles Forsman, and Peter Anthony have put together to let folks know how special this iconic horror series is to so many people. Let me know what you love about the Friday the 13th series below. If you've checked out these comics and the fan film, let me know what you think of those too. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Grave Trancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're